I'm B.
And I'm Renske.
We are so grateful that you are here.
Welcome to School of Joy. Welcome to episode number 6. We're going to be talking about community. And for us, community is so important. We truly believe that as human beings, we are hardwired for connection. And it creates a certain safety for us to have a community around us where we can share our authentic selves with. We spoke about that in the previous episode as well, in the people pleasing. So if you haven't listened to that, maybe go back to that first as well, because we speak to that importance of community a bit as well. But for this episode, I know, B, that you have had actually quite a recent shift in that energy of loneliness versus belonging, which of course is very related to community as well. So maybe can you start off with sharing your experience around that?
Yeah. So it's a monumental shift really for me. I think looking back, I've always felt quite alone actually. And in my 20s, I think that was very much at the forefront of my experience of life. I just felt I would be surrounded by people, friends and family, and I would just feel really lonely. And it was, a really difficult experience. And I think our need to belong is a very primal need. And I think I was able to really understand why it was such a painful experience, because it is such a essential need that we have as humans. So I think that's when that was around the time when it got to its sort of peak, was around the time when I was looking for something, a community and sort of spirituality. And as I've mentioned in a previous episode, I looked at joining a Buddhist center, which I went to for a while. And now, this was only sort of 2 or 3 years ago, I guess. But now I feel that I have radically shifted that energy of loneliness. And I feel that I have created I guess I've as my frequency has shifted, I have attracted more I talk about the law of resonance. I've attracted people that resonate with me, and it's not that I was alone before. I had lots of friends. I've always had lots of friends, but I think I didn't feel a part of something. I didn't feel this sense of belonging. And now, through the Master's Way, our beautiful group that we have, I feel that so deeply, this sense of belonging. But not just that. In lots of other aspects of my life as well, I feel I've attracted so many people towards me that really resonate. We completely relocated our lives in that time as well. And when it was weird, we sort of fell into this community, and suddenly I was around all these like-minded people that were, a bit odd like me. And so, it's been a dramatic shift, and it's something I'm so passionate about. And, when we've talked a lot about connection in previous episodes, but I think it's something that as humans, we are lacking, and the way that we live feeds into that lack quite often.
Yeah, and also the reason why we created our joy circle, right? If you haven't heard of it, you can actually sign up for our joy circle, where we keep you in the loop of future events, but also we share our experiences, and through email first of all, But I guess further down the line, this joy circle, as at least for me, um, I have this dream of growing that circle, of like-minded people, um, believing, that life is meant to be joyful, even though we don't always feel like that. We can make that conscious choice, and if we create this circle of people around us that believe that too, it amplifies that in ourselves. And how beautiful would it be, if in the future it's not just a podcast, but I'm literally dreaming
Mm.
out loud now, B.
No, I'm
Um,
with you. I'm here grieving. Yeah,
but how
I think,
beautiful would it be to then meet face to face as well, So
yeah,
that's sort of the intention, like very small at the moment still,
yeah.
for that joy circle. So if you feel called, if you have been listening to episodes, please do, do join, and then come join and add to our dream of creating this community and this sense of belonging for more people.
Because there's actually nothing more powerful. I mean, we meet on Zoom, and it's amazing. And I think I had a bit of resistance about that because I was like, oh, am I really going to get this sense of belonging meeting, online
Oh
digitally?
yeah, I remember you saying that actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but it has been super powerful. But I think there is actually nothing more powerful than being around. I have this dream. I feel that a deep calling for creating spaces where people can be present in any way that they are, in their suffering and their joy, and that
Hmm.
we create this community where the space is held, because I think, Renske, that is what you have done with your Matters Way groups, and I'm so grateful for it because it's been such a powerful thing for me.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's not just me, I'm a space holder of a group, but in a way I feel we're all space holders for each other. So to me it's always a co-creation with the group. Not to disregard my own, efforts in that, but
Oh,
um it is co-creation. And I think what we just mentioned, what is really important is that we feel safe, and indeed we do not feel alone. We feel understood, we feel heard, we feel seen. um the many times, in group that we share, like that we're so glad that we're not the only silly ones out there, the only weird ones, the odd ones out.
yeah.
And that's, I think, what um many of us that feel called to do this work have felt throughout their life, that they were the odd one out.
Mm.
And there's a reason for it, for us to eventually, come to an embrace of that full belonging here on the earth, actually, in a deeper sense. So in that loneliness versus belonging, it's super important to have that space and to open up to that community and that support. I think another thing that I find very important, that I notice in coming together with groups, is the sharing
Yeah.
and the saying out loud how we feel, what we think, literally acknowledging what's going on inside of us, which is, as we shared before, one of the steps towards unconditional love, that acknowledgement of how we feel, that acknowledgement of what we think. And at the same time, it's also a tool to regulate our nervous systems. Like um, I think I only shared it in stories on our Instagram. I haven't shared it on the podcast before, but a thing that I use to regulate my nervous system is what I call a rubber ducky. And a rubber ducky, I learned it only a couple months ago, but apparently IT people have, maybe not all of them, but some of them have like a rubber ducky sitting on their desk that they talk to when they have to process complex thoughts in a process, like in trying to figure something out. And it helps them, to organize their thoughts, but it helps them also to regulate those complex thoughts that they have. And that's what it does for me, literally, as well. Not maybe to solve an IT problem, but to solve something in myself, So I have friends that I use maybe, I use as a rubber ducky. So I send them audio messages. You are one of them as well, actually. I send you an audio message, and very often at the start of the audio message, I will say, this is just me sharing. You don't have to do anything with it. It's just me saying stuff out loud so I can gather my thoughts and I can become aware of what it is that I'm feeling, and I can literally release. Um, and then sometimes that becomes like a short version of a podcast episode, really.
Yeah, yeah.
But it helps me so much to regulate my nervous system.
Mm.
And I think that's also one of the reasons why in the Masters Way, with the weekly meetings, the sharing part of the class is such a big part of the class. It's so important, and the masters also share that the sharing part is really important, and that even the course is meant to be received in group. So it's not meant to receive one-to-one. It's meant to receive in group, and it's meant to have this big part of sharing, because this is, as human beings, how we learn, how we grow, because in group we then create this safe space, and
Mm.
we can only grow and learn if we feel safe, of course. So yeah, I'm so grateful for these groups and for this community, really. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I was just reflecting on how probably anyone listening as well is quite, we're quite deep people, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
um we like to talk about the deep stuff, and I think in my experience not everybody can hold space for that.
Mm.
And what I've found with the more I've um creative space with with community of like-minded people, is that safe, that space has become safer and safer, like with us there is no, it is a really safe space to share. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes it is just that we just need to speak it out loud, and then there's a processing in that and a shifting in that. But also then to have other people who show up and listen and don't judge and are able to maybe reflect back to what you're saying is such a gift. um and then also, I suppose, to hear other people's struggles as well. Not that obviously that's what we want other people to be doing, but there's something very powerful about, we only know our own experience, we only know our own inner experience. But when there's a safe space held for people to share their inner experience, and um hearing, because actually a lot of us, we're just struggling with the same stuff, maybe in kind of different ways.
Mm.
um but a lot of the themes around the stuff we struggle with is usually incredibly relatable, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it totally is. And what you just shared is such a, I think, big key as well in learning and growing, is to be open to new perspectives. And that's what the group gifts us as well, is a lot of different perspectives. And I know from my personal experience, sometimes if I get stuck in being triggered and um I can't yet move forward with it. I don't know yet what it's about, or I don't know yet what it is I'm learning. Speaking to someone else or speaking it out loud in group and then hearing other perspectives can really help me to shift that energy, to shift my perspective, literally. Um, so I think that's such an important thing of community as well, that you just shared, that we are then able to access different perspectives, and that helps
Mm.
us to then shift our perspective as well, which is the core of growing, is to learn to shift that perspective, really.
Because it's so easy to get stuck in our very tiny, zoomed in perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about not with the masters actually, but with the course I'm doing, the breathwork course. There was that course is really challenging me. I knew the moment I signed up, I knew it was going to really challenge me. But just like the master's way, I felt almost instantly this sense of belonging on the first call that we had, because I could see that there was, you know, this group of people. It's a much bigger group. I think there's around 40 of us, and everyone on there is, you know, they're doing the inner work, and and I've had these amazing conversations. You know, we're put into breakout rooms, and I've had some amazing connections with people where I'm in a breakout room with them for 15 minutes and they'll share something so honestly with me, and so in such a vulnerable way.
Mm,
And then of course I'm doing the same. And there's something so powerful about that experience of
mm,
um, really seeing another's vulnerability and having them hold space for yours. And we had to do an exercise recently, which made me so uncomfortable. And we were put in this breakout room, and I was with two others, and they actually know each other. And you know, the one said, "Oh, how are you feeling?" And I just said, "Oh, I just want to leave." Like, just literally everything in me is screaming, "Run away." And actually, what happened was those two people were just able to hold a lot of safe space for me. In fact, one actually said to me, "What can we do to make you feel safer?" And that question was so powerful. Um, she actually didn't need to do anything else but ask me that. I immediately felt in such a safer space, just because she had acknowledged and not shamed, not laughed off my experience. And because she showed genuine concern about how I was feeling and wanted to make it better. Yeah, so yesterday I was reflecting then on that experience, and I got really emotional about it, because it in general hasn't been my experience of others where, you know, I don't know, I guess they're just so attuned because of the inner work that they've done.
mm,
Um, and then I was able to do the exercise. Someone else went first. We had to take it in turns, and it was incredibly vulnerable. And I just felt so empowered afterwards. I mean, I was really sweaty by the end,
mm,
because it really challenged me. But I just, yeah, I was reflecting on it yesterday and just feeling, and I feel that the more of this work that I do, the deeper I go, the more I understand myself. And actually also the more I let go of relationships that don't resonate anymore, the more space is opening up for that. And it's just such a beautiful experience, and such a polar opposite from how I experienced life really not that long ago.
mm. I guess what you just said, I think many can relate to that as well. At least I can. Um, Letting go of relationships that do not resonate anymore, that can sometimes be such a hard sort of phase. I feel like at the moment, I do not struggle with it anymore, but I remember struggling with that, like holding on
Mm.
to the old, probably also an old identity of myself, being attached to certain friendships and relationships. Um, but to be able to, attract new relationships in my life that resonate more, you are asked to let go of also what doesn't really serve anymore, and that has nothing to do with the other person. Um, it's simply just an energy thing, and that's, I
Mm.
guess, for the ego mind. At some stage when you're asked to do that, for the ego mind, it can be quite tough. Um, yeah, how do you experience that shift in letting go certain relationships?
Yeah, it's really been challenging for me, actually. It's been something that I've been really challenged with lately, because, yeah, I guess my energy has shifted so much over the last couple of years. And um, yeah, and I am, I feel I am being asked to let go of relationships, and I have a very strong attachment. I sort of acknowledge that I feel that I'm failing if I let go of a relationship.
Mm,
And acknowledging that was quite helpful. And then yeah, so there's been relationships that I'm, not necessarily completely letting go of, but just, I guess, accepting that they aren't, um accepting maybe that I can't be fully authentic with that person, or that the relationship is just maybe not what I would ideally want, letting go of that attachment to how the relationship should, or I would want it to be.
mm,
And then actually just allowing for grief to come up around that. Like, that's
yeah,
okay. It's okay to
yeah,
grieve the ending of something. Yeah, I feel that that's something that's shifted quite recently for me, but for a while I was really challenged by that. In fact, it sort of made, in a way, it made, not that there was doubts, but it sort of made me, yeah, it made me look at the spiritual work in a kind of, in a way. I was like, oh, this is really, really changing my relationships, and that
mm,
challenged me. But then at the same time, I was connecting more and more, and on a deeper level, to the other people around me, these newer relationships, and feeling so seen, and just so much resonance there, that I guess it's that abundance and lack choice again, isn't it? Where do you choose to focus on? So in one sense, there's been huge abundance. So then in another sense, there's been this asking to let go of relationships that, yeah, just don't resonate so much now.
yeah, yeah. Not to hold any judgment around that it's just an energy
Mm.
thing, because it's in the end inevitable. If you're gonna change the relationship you have with yourself, it's inevitable that you're gonna change the relationship you have with other people. And but as you said, that can bring up quite a bit of grief. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
because I think that's been, sort of most apparent in some of my longest term relationships, which I
Mm,
suppose makes sense. So yeah, there's a huge sadness to letting go in those. But yeah, I think, when you let go of something like that as well, then more space opens up. You only have a finite amount of energy.
yeah,
And so it's a
yeah,
choice, isn't it? Where do you want to put that energy?
yeah.
Um,
And what is it giving you, that relationship as well, you know? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So a friend said to me, um, "Is it costing you energy?" And
Mm,
that was such a good question. I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, it really is costing me energy." So, um, yeah.
Yeah, and then if you set a boundary in that, that might then have a consequence that, yeah, the relationship is just ending there. That's,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
I had this experience around changing relationships, friendships, work relationships, romantic relationships, especially in my shift from um, moving from New Zealand to the Netherlands, because my spiritual journey basically started, or at least the conscious one started in New Zealand. So in those 4 years, I've lived in New Zealand for 4 years, and in those 4 years, I have changed drastically. In
Yeah.
such a short time, I've changed so much. And I think when I felt the call to move back to my hometown, everything in my ego was screaming, "No, why is this the guidance, why?" My ego did not want to move because there was a fear I was not gonna meet like-minded people in my hometown, because it was afraid to fall back into that sort of the old, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and that was a big lesson in trust, that it's, as I said before, it's inevitable when we change our own energy, when we change the relationship to ourselves, everything else around us is going to change. That's just the universal laws. That's just how energy works, and we are energetic beings. So um, it was for me to let go of that and to really trust. And funnily enough, already in New Zealand, when I had made the choice to go back, but I hadn't moved just yet physically, already people started contacting me, and I started to be in touch with people, either new people that I got introduced to, or people I knew already, but they, in that period of time, they had changed a lot as well. So we were very on the same page about where we were at in our life and what we would talk about and what we would discuss. So it was very, yeah, I was so grateful for that lesson to show me to literally trust the laws of the universe, that if I change my frequency, my reality will change. So moving back to New Zealand very quickly, I had built this new community, and not just through my workspace, I own a Pilates studio and I have amazing members. I have amazing teachers that all hold this um, this vision, I think, on life, that there's more to life than just the physical. So everyone's quite open in more holistic view on life. So not just there, but also with friends, and there's old friendships that I've let go of already in New Zealand, but then coming back to the Netherlands, that was sort of confirmed even more, that that was not those relationships were not in my highest potential anymore. On the other hand, there's still a group of about like a handful of girlfriends that I'm in touch with, some even from primary school. And I was reflecting on that, like, why are we still like a friend group? Like, why is that so strong? And I really truly believe that's because all of us are so different in this group, yet we are fully accepting of the differences. And I think that's the strong that's what the strong bond is about, that there's a full acceptance of each other's differences.
Mm.
And
No attachment to them being different to who they
yeah,
are.
trying to change each other or whatever, there's none of that. So yeah, so anyway, that's my personal experience of moving from New Zealand back to my hometown in the Netherlands, that is just how it works. We are energetic beings. If we change our energy, we change who we meet, we change who we engage with, and it's not for our it's not for our ego mind to hold on to any of that. It's to let go. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think there's something about like sort of being in the state of flow and, acceptance. We've done an episode about that, and trust. I think. Yeah, and holding on to our attachment to other people and not accepting that change and not trusting it as a process is just us trying to control again.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to our joy sparks. Renske, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. This one is actually very related to a sense of support, which is also part of community, I find. Um, at the moment, within my business, I'm going through a migration process of changing booking systems, and I've come to face this aspect that really fears that change is hard, and I've worked on really shifting that energy, um, and trying to release beliefs around that consciousness that I hold in that consciousness. And last week, I could feel and literally like see that shift in my reality, because I had asked two teachers of my team to help me out with with the work in the whole migration process, and they jumped on straight away wanting to help, which I was so grateful for. And at one point, I was looking after Lily, and messages of them were coming in, saying like, "Oh, finished this, and now I'm on to this," and like they were just sort of working further on all the things, and I literally like teared up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for like being able to open to receive support, and the fact that I was able to make that shift and make that choice
Mm.
um, made me feel like so joyful, that and feel even not just joyful but very powerful as well, that being able to be vulnerable with myself, to really say, okay, there is a part that fears change and that fears that change is hard. Just to be able to acknowledge that to myself and be vulnerable with myself was so powerful, to be shifting that energy, and to receive an immense amount of support. So that's, I think, with sharing that joy spark, that's even an sort of an addition to the importance of community there as well, that we really learn in community to also be open to receive from one another, to receive that support. So yeah, that's my joy
Yeah.
spark. Yeah.
Just as you were sharing that, I had the same thing actually about, I think again, because we are quite disconnected from ourselves and from one another, I think we do feel that we're alone often with our struggles and that we shouldn't ask for help. And I think it's one of the things again that, within our little community, we've created this space where when one of us is struggling, we'll reach out to the group and say, can you just hold me in your kind of
Mm,
um in your energy, in your love, and yeah, it's hard to ask for support, but I think that is the power of community. um yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
have a story spark too. um so as part of my breathwork course that I'm doing, we're having to write a biography about our life, just for ourselves, not for anyone else to see. And it's been quite a challenging process for me to go back and go through stuff that, I mean, I have processed before, but of course I haven't done that in quite the depth that I'm doing currently since starting the spiritual work. So I feel that I'm able to go into it in a much deeper way, which has been amazing. I mean, it really has. I feel that I'm in the middle of this huge shift, but it has been very, very challenging and has brought up a huge amount of emotion from my past traumas. And I was writing the other night just for an hour, and I mean, so much emotion was coming up, and Tom could see that I was really, really upset. Um, and then I just, he said, "Oh, is there anything you need from me?" I said, "No, like this is just part of the process. I'm just releasing this emotion. It's good that it's coming out." And then we got into bed, and I was just like, I just really needed to ground my energy and do a little meditation, and I was doing that, and it was still lots of emotion coming out, and I just it was funny because I had this moment, where we were led in bed together, and Tom wasn't doing anything. He was just there with me, next to
Mm.
me, allowing what I needed to process to be processed. I knew that if I needed him for anything, he was there. And I was just led there, after all the emotion had come out, and I was just led there reflecting on it. And I just felt so much gratitude to him.
Mm.
Um, I mean, not just in that moment, but in our lives together, that he has created, he's helped me create this really safe home where this stuff is safe to come up and out. And of course, then, away. So I just had overwhelming love and gratitude for him. And that was, it's a funny joy spark because I wasn't very joyful. Of
Mm.
course I was, because I was so grateful for the radically different space that we have created from which I grew up from. So, yeah.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
So just going to the Joy Circle.
Yeah.
We're really keen for people to join, of course, and we don't know quite where School of Joy is going yet, but we're really excited about the potential of it, and our intentions are so pure to support other people, to grow and create more light in this world. So if you are curious and you want to join that little community, then you can do so. There will be a link in the bottom of this, in the description below this, wherever you're listening, and you can come and find us on Instagram too, at School of Joy Podcast. We'll soon take a short moment to ground and anchor together. If this conversation resonated and you'd like to go a little deeper, we'd love to welcome you into our Joy Circle, a monthly newsletter where we share extra reflections, meditations, and resources to support you. You can find us on Instagram at School of Joy Podcast, and we'd love for you to support us on our mission to spread more light and joy in the world by sharing with family and friends. You'll find all the links in the episode description. Thanks again for listening.
All right. Let us take a deep breath all together. If you wish, you can close your eyes for it. Breathing in the joy. And anchoring down, breathing down, and feeling the support of Mother Earth beneath our feet.